Sorry about that. Well, welcome back to pjnet.tv. I'm Coach Prasick, and for the 348th time, we are welcoming a first-time guest here on our program with a, well, what I want to be polite and respectful, but an unusual topic. If you would have told me when we began this journey of providing a platform for everyday Christians to share their walk with Christ, that we were going to hear a story that we are about to hear, I would have said, really? Are you kidding? Well, it's true. And with us in our studio from his, I don't even know, I think he's in Tennessee, David Mauro. Now that's an unusual spelling. He said it's like tomorrow, but just Mauro. David Mauro joins us. Now, I believe I found out about David through a mutual friend, Terry Sawsville, who Terry and I have known each other for some time. And she told me, you've got to talk to this guy, and then I think it was within a few hours, I got this email from this guy, David, right there, that guy. We could go into a lot of theology, but let's not for now anyway. We can later perhaps. David has a peculiar, special, interesting ministry. David, by the way, you're not on Shark Tank. I know it's probably going to feel that way. You came up with this idea of not just a Jesus doll, but a talking Jesus doll. There's got to be a story here. I think it's on your website, but I want to hear I want to hear everything. His website is at jesusdoll.com, peculiar name. David, what brought about this idea? Why a Jesus doll, and why a talking Jesus doll?
Hey, Coach, thanks for having me on. 348th. This is awesome.
We finally got to the good ones. It took us a while.
Yeah, well, hey, that's right. You put in your time. But hey, thanks for having me on. Yeah, a little bit about the doll and the story. So I'm a father of three girls. My kids' favorite toys were stuffed animals, and we went through a process. We were moving once, and I realized when you move, you take inventory of all the stuff that you have.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that that we had hundreds of stuffed animals between my girls, and I started looking at them, and I looked at them, and I realized that some of them had some educational value, some of them had some sentimental value, but none of them had spiritual value. And I was looking at them and realizing that this is really a missed opportunity because like the stuffed animal era of my kids was their formative years, and it was really an opportunity where maybe we could have done something to do a better job than giving them frogs and ducks and things like that. So I went to go look for a Jesus doll that talked, that said Bible verses. Figured there's probably 100 of them out there, and I searched and didn't find anything, and that's kind of where the idea came from. I wanted to make the doll really kind of for my kids, but realizing that this is my story is very similar to every parent out there. So that's kind of where the idea came from, and that's where it began.
I forget where I read it, probably on that paragon of intellectual rigor, google.com, but when it talks about entrepreneurship, one piece of advice that I remember reading was, if you're searching for something and can't find it, that might be an inspiration for an invention. You're living proof of that.
Yeah, I mean, the world's information at your fingertips, right? And not only was there not a Jesus doll that said Bible verses, there's almost nothing. I looked at the numbers once. The educational toy market is about a $60 billion market. Spiritual toys is like a $0 market. It almost doesn't exist. It basically doesn't exist according to the statisticians. So, I'm started looking at this kind of in a new way, thinking, not only is there not just this one kind of toy, but this whole market doesn't exist. And so, again, I'm looking at it as from a business standpoint, there should be a market because I know there's got to be demand for this, but at the same time, there's a need for it. Like we need our kids to have toys with spiritual value. We need our kids to have good influences in their lives, to learn scripture early. And this all happened a couple of years ago. This is about when the big all the cartoons and TV shows and even toys started going woke, right? So the Jesus doll, the talking Jesus doll that you see here, is really the antidote to the wokeness kind of in the culture, but also pressing forward with some spiritual aspects of that we can introduce to our kids early in their formative years. So that's kind of how I began to see this whole thing as an opportunity, to do good, to introduce kids to Jesus, early in their lives, and who knows what else, right? I mean, it's a big opportunity out there. But the sad thing is the huge gap that exists. I mean, it's just there's nothing out there like this.
Well, David, in our brief time getting ready for the program, when we have a new guest, we do what I call a dry run. We just make sure. Oh, and by the way, the connection kept dropping earlier today. If it happens, don't worry about it. He'll be right back. But, you get a little chance to chat, and it turns out, David, you and I are brethren of sorts because I'm a data guy. I'm a programmer in multiple languages and have written advanced applications, including DNS servers, some pretty high-tech stuff. But as such, manufacturing is an alien planet to me. I deal in data. Databases, packets, protocols, not raw materials, not plants. Don't worry, folks. He'll be right back. This happened earlier. There's nothing to worry about. It happens. He comes right back. David, thank you. I knew that was going to happen. This whole manufacturing process, to me, you might as well literally be on another planet. It's not the world I live in. What was your experience? You get this inspiration. I love it. I love it. They're in their formative years. We need this. I get it. But where do you go? Where do you start? What do you do? How did you not get eaten by the wolves out there?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and I'm also kind of a software guy by trade. My entire career up to now has been in the software business. Work for the biggest software companies in the world, and so I kind of had the same feeling, like, what the heck do I do? Okay, great idea. I've plenty of them, but how do you make something like this happen? And so part of getting this product built was just deep research and hustling and doing some sourcing searches and just starting really basic and kind of honing down to try to find somebody who could not only have the capabilities to make a doll, but make one that actually looked really good. And that was key for this because when you make a Jesus doll, it's you're going to have a lot of critics. It's very important that it has characteristics that are of high quality, that have a good look, that
durability,
that are that are endearing. It's Jesus. I mean, you got to be top notch. You have to do it right. So I found a bunch of suppliers. We went through a bunch of prototypes, and none of them really impressed us. So we kind of lucked up on this one company that built a prototype for us based on the kind of the concepts and the designs that we gave them. And they just nailed it. I mean, they took the concept and they created from our mind and our drawings exactly what we wanted, and that's what we have here today. So we're kind of lucky in coming across this supplier. Again, it's not an easy thing. I mean, you're not speaking the right language. You're not you have no way to meet these people. Like it's kind of a roll of the dice. So we were very lucky, and again, I think that's God shining down on us and to help us make this thing a reality.
David, you are using the plural we and us. Are you using that in the corporate sense, or is there someone else involved with you?
I mean, I have the best family in the world as supporters, but this is when you say we, it makes your operation sound bigger than
Well,
it is.
well, it's the correct use of the word in the corporate sense. For example, I use the word "we" when we refer to to our the enterprise. We,
Right.
when we is me, and there is a team of people. So what we're well, I'm still
Little humility, I guess.
yeah
Maybe that's the way I was raised.
I'm still amazed that you are a babe in the woods in this new world that you are totally unfamiliar with. You apparently do not have a coyote or tour guide taking you through
No.
it. I am amazed that you did not get chewed up and spit out. How did you survive? Is it a minefield out there?
We've been in business less than a year now, so that's kind of that's the crazy thing. We don't know what's to come, but I think when I figured out how to make this thing happen, from the production standpoint, from marketing, a lot of it was it. I guess my preconceived notions I threw out the window really quickly. Like when we started, I thought, what do all entrepreneurs do? They go on Kickstarter to launch their product, and I thought, hey, this is going to be the greatest thing ever. We're going to get all these backers, we're going to get all this momentum. All these retailers are going to want to buy this product. We're going to get tons of visibility. Well, the funny thing is, 4 days into our launch, we were like 70% to our goal. We were crushing it, and Kickstarter canceled our project. They said that we were after approving everything and giving us the blessing to get going. They said that we were insensitive, intolerant. We were subjugating people, and they canceled our project. So like my whole strategy.
I'll remember where he was. Uh, oh boy, we're finding out the real world out there.
Right.
Okay, David,
My whole
preach to us.
strategy before
Yeah,
this thing was tossed out the window really, really quick, and so had to come up with some new ideas. And so that led me to kind of think, okay, not think about what everybody else does. I need to think about what I need to do. And I thought, hey, well, that's a perfect newsworthy thing. Kickstarter cancels Jesus. So we went out to the press, went out to TV. We were able to get written up by some great sites. Newsmax covered us.
mhm.
We got covered by a bunch of other news sites like OAN and Real America's Voice, and it really kind of launched us. So it really gave me the opportunity. That was very fortunate. And again, that's another one of those God things. Like that could have been the end of the whole operation, but we found another way. Um, you learn very quickly that, hey, I know how to sell. I know how to do things. From my career in business. It's don't do what other people do. I need to do what I need to do because I know my product. I know who wants it. I know who needs it because I built this for me. So I started to think about, who do I need to talk to? Who's my customer? And then how do we execute on a plan that is not what everybody else does, but it's what it aligns with who the customer is. And so I think that's how we've navigated and stayed out of the kind of the like we're not in any toy shops. We're not a toy. Like this is not a toy. You can't get it in any toy store. We sell to grandparents. We sell to parents.
Mhm.
Our marketing is direct in that regard. So we just kind of thought about things a little bit differently, and we try to stay in our own lane. We
Mhm.
traded our own lane, and that's I think why we've not gotten run off the road.
Well, but they tried. We too, we plural, by His Grace Ministries, pjnet.tv, we have been the victim of cancel culture. Square.com canceled us for no apparent reason. They just wrote me an email after the same story you told. After
Yep.
initial approval, they just decided arbitrarily, and it not, so you had to deal with cancel culture. Let me go to the web to our chat room at pjnet.tv because some people have some comments and questions I think that are noteworthy that I would not have thought of otherwise. Our producer Barbara noticed on your website that you do a fundraiser programs as well. How does that work?
Yeah, so we're proud, we're honored that we were able to donate $1,000 to Operation Christmas Child. So that was kind of our first step into, kind of into these these kind of programs and giving. We do have a fundraiser. We're experimenting with things. So the fundraising thing is for churches that want to raise money. They've got a captive audience. This is a great product for Easter time, Christmas time. They can raise some money with us. But the thing that we're looking to do is we're trying to really do something big this coming year with giving, and we want to give $100,000 to Operation Christmas Child this year at the end of the year. So we're working on that program, but there's 2 billion kids out there we need to reach. So we've got to go big and go fast. We're experimenting with other ways to reach people, fundraising programs, mission trips. I mean, there's a lot of things that we can do. Just trying to figure it all out.
The chat room is really lively tonight. Also from Barbara, it's interesting that you mentioned Operation Christmas Child, because our producer puts in the chat room that you have a non-talking version that's actually smaller, that was apparently purpose designed to fit in an Operation Christmas Child shoe box. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. It's we call it the shoebox Jesus doll, and that's exactly what it's for. Since the beginning, we've been talking to Operation Christmas Child. We're not partners with them; they don't really partner with companies, but they love what we're doing. They're thrilled to get the dolls, and we're just going to try to do more with them. And anybody who wants to to create a box that has, instead of putting a bunny in the box or put a duck, put Jesus, right? It's a Christian operation. It's a Christian mission. It should be a Christian mission. And so,
don't worry, he'll be right back. We had this happen earlier. It's just a thing, folks. It's just the internet. Don't worry about it.
There we go. I'll always come back. I have not come back yet. But anyway, okay. So that's another big thing for us, is the shoebox Jesus doll.
Okay. Well, let me turn to Star Ayers, who has 2 entries in the chat room. The first one was from several minutes ago. In the chat room, she mentions that she's surprised that this hasn't been thought of before. That's almost I commend you, David. We really do on this. You're spot on. They're in their formative years. But it is sort of it's really a bad report card on the way things are. Why in the world hasn't someone thought of this before? Have you given that any thought?
No, actually they have. So, and just kind of doing my research for this, I found out that, some guy, so people have been making, Jesus dolls since, for a long time. There were, believe it or not, more Jesus dolls, 100 years ago than there are now. So that's kind of the sad thing. But somebody did actually create this and patented the talking Jesus doll or something, with a different name. And the patent's since expired. But this guy had this idea. He probably failed commercially. And that's the big thing. It's like, big toys not picking up and running with spiritual toys. So the ability to reach the market that we know exists out there. We know there's tens of millions of Christians that would buy this product for their kids or grandkids. The toy companies have not, they judged religion a long time ago. So, making this a commercial success, that's the hard part. It's not the idea that's unique. It's the, it's the execution. And, again, I think my dolls, this is the best looking Jesus doll that's ever been created, frankly.
Well, looks better than you do. Yeah. I like the hair.
Well, that's very true. I should walk around like this right here.
We have a request from the chat room from Star Airs, by the way. Can we hear Jesus talk?
Oh yeah, sorry about that. Absolutely. Here we go. Let's see here.
Peace be with you.
Can you hear that?
Barely.
Treat others the way you want to be treated.
Is that coming through?
Treat others the way you want to be treated.
I am the way, the truth, and the life.
I'm the way, the truth, and the life. He says the Lord's Prayer. He says John 3:16, and a bunch of others. You can hear them all on the website. There's a video on our product page where you can hear it more clearly.
Okay, all right. Dave, let me go back to that manufacturing process. You're a gearhead like I am, and you deal with a bunch of techno toys. how'd you figure out the manufacturing? How'd you figure out the voice? How'd you figure out gosh, I mean, somebody help you with that?
Yeah, so we came up with a design. Kind of it did a lot of examples. Like there's actually a blog post where we write about how we came up, how the made the doll actually come to be. It started out with some rough sketches, some rough drafts. There was a bunch of faces, and we kind of picked the right one. What are the eyes going to look like? What's the mouth going to look like? So we went through kind of this whole kind of drilling down and trying to make the doll look really good. And then we took that concept to this a bunch of manufacturers. We had to make sure that they had to learn about Chinese law, like non-disclosure law. There's a bunch of stuff but we found this company that we found, they just, like I said, they just nailed it, and they had experience with the voice boxes. So that was great, because again, there's kind of a lot of moving parts. You got the plush piece of it, you got the voice box, you got the wire. I mean, so not every company can do that. So fortunately they could. And actually the voice is actually of a pastor, my pastor from my church, a few years ago, really when, I became, I was growing in my faith. My family was growing in our faith. Yeah, he was a new young pastor that came to our church and really challenged us and really helped us grow. And so, we've been friends, since then. I asked him to do this. He's a younger guy. He's got kind of a good.
He'll be right back. Don't worry. Everything's fine. No problem.
There you go.
He's a young guy.
He's got a nice, calm, he's got an authentic voice. And so, so he nailed the voice. We did it right here on this Yeti Blue microphone. That was a lot of fun. But I guess it all kind of came together. Again, I like to take credit for it all, but again, I know that God has been instrumental in this process from the very beginning of the concept, and even before that, to the success we've had commercially, and I think he's going to help us really take this all the way around the world. That's the goal. Our next step is to take this Jesus doll around the world in different languages, different countries, and that's what we're going to do. So, again, I'd love to take all the credit for it. That hey, I figured it all out, but I think there's a lot of luck, and again, I think that luck is probably coming from above right now.
Well, the question I'm about to ask, I hope that your experience has been and is better than mine, because when you get these ideas, you're just caught up in the it's like a baby. If it's like you get emotionally invested in it, and then the realities, the cancel culture, the manufacturing, the dealing with Chinese, the intercultural and international issues. Oh, there is a mountain of challenges. But you know what, David? I'm up to that. The one that really crushes me, that is not where most of the challenges I have in taking ideas from inception to fruition comes not from manufacturers, comes not from trade agreements and all the mechanics. It comes from friends, family, and oddly enough, even the church. What's been your experience?
With naysayers?
Yeah.
I really have. I mean, honestly, other than a few, yahoos on chat boards and Twitter, the response has been incredibly positive. Nobody's really nobody's gotten in my way. Nobody said that's a stupid idea. Nobody said that's a bad idea. Nobody said it won't work. There's some realities that you have to accept, that, hey, bringing a doll to market it is a hard thing. So, it could fail. Like anything could fail. Walking across the street could fail if you get hit by a car. But but I haven't really had any kind of negative Nellies get in my way. And again, it's a talking Jesus doll that helps kids learn Bible verses. It gives them kind of some tangible introduction to Jesus at a super early age. It's a good thing. I know I'm doing the right thing. I know I'm on the right path. And again, I have no doubts about any of this. And if somebody did bring them to me, again, I know what I'm doing, so I'm not too worried about what everybody else says.
Well, you're using confidence now, David, but early on, it's not that way always. Do you think of yourself, or have you always thought of yourself as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I mean, I've started a bunch of businesses, and most of them have failed. You know, like one of the last business that I had before this, I think prepared me for this. It was in that time when like I said, I was growing in my faith. I went through this kind of realization that in working for these great software companies, I was working for the man, and not the man. And so I went through a big change in my life. Right, I sold my palatial house on 20 acres of land, moved into a spider infested rental house. Um, we and we started to 501(c)(3) to help give back. We started a grow one give one seed company to help feed people at a low cost at a long distance. So really is we try to I created this company to give back with food. COVID killed it with supply chains and things like that, but it was an e-commerce operation. And I really, a lot of the inspiration for this doll actually right here, a lot of what I learned came from that business. And so I've been chipping away, I've been working. Again, I'm an idea guy, I'm kind of a dreamer.
He's kind of a dreamer, but he'll be back. Trust me. We're used to this. It's old stuff. Kind of a dreamer, but
Yeah, I'm a dreamer, but it's again, I've been stopped before, but again, I just keep on going. And again, what's been good for me with that last thing and this thing is that I know it has purpose. I know what I'm doing is purpose. I know it's divinely inspired. I know that what I'm doing is glorifying God, and not just like my day to day life, but in what I'm doing. And that's really a cool thing. That's what you're doing. It provides a lot of meaning to what you're doing. And so that's kind of the gravitational force that kind of keeps pushing me forward. And that's a much better position than being a guy that's just trying to make a couple extra bucks. So
mm-hmm.
and who knows, maybe that's why this thing's taken off. But yeah, there's only one answer to that, and we'll find out one day.
Well, David, I feel such a kindredness with you. We're both software guys, high tech guys, techno toy guys. And you said something just a moment ago that I hear from time to time. That I tell them, I do this internet based television program, blah blah blah, and they say, "Oh, that's what you do," and that sounds great. And I said, "No, you don't understand. This isn't what I do. This is who I am." And at some point, that's when you, or for me, I've done a lot of great things for God, you might say. My Christian resume is, well, pretty impressive. But yet I have never felt as centered in God's will as I feel today. A lot of the good things that people do, I don't know, maybe I was trying to earn God's favor. If I could do enough good things, it might make up for all the bad things that I've done. But I applaud that you are so. Yeah, it's who you are. You ooze confidence, not because you have confidence in your own abilities, but confidence that you are in the center of God's will. That is a great position of spiritual maturity to be in, and so few get there. And many that do get there are probably 20 years your senior. You're still new at this. I commend you.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm just trying to figure it out. But I think the lesson again. I think when I think about this from a spiritual aspect, what I've been really trying hard to do is to listen and follow and trust that in what God lays before me. It's again, I've asked to be a vessel, right? I've asked to be a servant to just use me to serve you, to glorify you, and I trust you, God, to lead me to I'll follow. Like lead me where you want me to go, and I'll follow. Like if it's doing this, or if it's just raising my kids, or both, or doing something else entirely, you know, what I've tried to do, and you know, I've been working really hard on it, is to try to listen and let God intervene in my life, and not know everything. And you know, a lot of times when, like I told you the story before, you know, I didn't know what I was doing, but it worked out. And what I'm trying to do now is just kind of is listen and follow God's lead. He's the blocker. I'm the running back. You know, let's go. You know, so if he can call a play, he can direct me. I'll go there. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to put it a little bit more. Just trying to listen more and listen and follow. That's what that's kind of where I am. What I'm working really hard to do.
David, we've run out of time. I'm just overwhelmed with the maturity with which you speak. And so many. If you would have told me that I'd be sitting here talking to a guy about a Jesus doll when I first began this journey, I would think, really? You know, but I am. I think that there's a lot that we adults can learn from your journey in this, and you have shared it so freely, and I appreciate not only what you're doing, but I appreciate you sharing with us tonight, and hopefully, hopefully he can't hear me now. I was just trying to, you know, there he's back. Hopefully, David, you will be blessed by blessing others in ways that we can't even imagine. But thank you, David, you know, for sharing with us tonight. God bless you, and by golly, wherever this is going, keep going. You're doing the right thing, and we appreciate you sharing, you know, with us tonight.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Coach. Really appreciate it, and I love the two questions you asked at the end of the last segment. You know, that's impactful, and thanks for you know, making that you know, putting that out there. Those are important questions to ask and answer.
Well, thank you, David. It's anytime I get the opportunity to address the public, whether the public is 5 people or 5,000 or anywhere in between or whatever, that's a God thing. That's a message God gave me. There's a story on that. Call me sometime, and I'll tell you the story, how that came about. It was a real turning point in my life. And that's a message that God has given me, and I always, no matter what the topic that I speak on, that's how it ends. But thank you for taking note, and I hope that you not only take note, that you take the challenge.
No doubt. Thank you, Mark.
All right. David Mauro. Wow, what, you know, God is so good. God is so good. Thank you, all of you in the pjnet.tv chat room. It really makes it fun. It really makes it not only rewarding. I'm not doing this for a reward, but it is very affirming when we have engagement in our chat room, and I appreciate each of you so much. I know we're running late. I'm not going to make the announcements, but I do have several things to announce. Well, one thing in particular, let me just briefly say the Christian Expo that we talked about over, 6 weeks ago, is coming to life. It's not coming to life as fast as I would want. It's looking more like March at this point, but it will happen. Thanks to Andy Clapp. Pastor Andy Clapp has opened his doors of Mount Zion Baptist Church to welcome us. It might be May. Okay, but okay, good, fine. We'll do it whenever. But it's going to happen, and thank you all for your prayers and your faithfulness and all that stuff. I couldn't do it without you. I like to think of myself as strong and all that, but none of us really are. We all depend on each other. And, well, what a night it's been. So I will close, as we always close, with a challenge. It's one that has changed my life. And it's not a one-time challenge New Year's resolution thing. This is a continuing resolution that, folks, it's tough out there. And sometimes you have to muster up some, oomph to get through it. And here's how I do it. I ask myself 2 provocative questions. Here's the first one. What is the boldest thing that you have ever done for Jesus Christ? Let me just comment. So many of the people that I have been blessed to be introduced to are writers and authors. And they get personally invested in the work that they believe that God has commissioned them to do, called them to do. But there are so many discouragements along the way. And there are times when you feel like giving up. And these are the times that boldness is called for. So yes, what is the boldest thing you've ever done for Jesus Christ? Maybe it may be something as simple as I'm going to write or finish the chapter I'm working on. Because you just don't know what the impact of that will be someday. You may never know this side of heaven. All right, next question. Second question. Last question. How long ago was that? And the challenge is to never be satisfied with either answer.